You reach out, your fingers brush against a scalding hot ceramic mug, and instantly, before you even consciously register the pain, your hand jerks back. In that fraction of a second, an incredibly precise, high-speed relay race of electricity and chemistry just tore through your body. The center of this operation is your central neural system, or CNS. Your brain and thick spinal cord are the ultimate information processors. Branching off is the peripheral neural system, thousands of biological wires connecting the CNS right down to your fingertips. To see how human flesh can actually generate electricity and move data that fast, we have to zoom way past the major organs and look at the microscopic hardware making it all possible, the neuron. This is a single neuron. It functions as a specialized biological cable. At the center is the cell body, housing standard cellular organelles and distinct granular structures called Nissel's granules. Sprouting off that main body are the dendrites. These short, heavily branched fibers act as antennas, catching incoming signals and pulling them towards the center. Once the signal is received, it shoots down the axon, a single elongated transmission cable designed to carry the message away from the cell body towards its next destination. Many of these axons come with an evolutionary hardware upgrade, a thick wrapping called a myelin sheath. It's formed by specialized Schwann cells that tightly coil around the central core. If you look closely, you'll see tiny gaps left between these sheaths. These are the nodes of Ranvier. Instead of traveling in a slow, continuous line, the signal can actually jump from node to node, massively accelerating its speed. But a specialized wire is useless without a power source. So where does the electrical spark actually come from? Neurons are highly excitable cells because their membranes are naturally polarized. Even when a neuron is doing absolutely nothing, there is a literal electrical difference across its cell wall. During this resting state, a mechanism called the sodium-potassium punk is hard at work. It actively forces 3 sodium ions out of the cell for every 2 potassium ions it lets in. This creates a resting potential, where the outside holds a positive charge and the inside stays negative. Then a stimulus hits, like the extreme heat of that coffee mug. Instantly, the membrane gates fly open, and it suddenly becomes highly permeable to sodium. All that positively charged sodium rushes inside. This creates a rapid reversal of polarity, a process called depolarization. This sudden, cascading electrical spike is what we call an action potential. It is the actual nerve impulse racing down the length of the axon. Almost immediately after the spike passes, potassium diffuses out of the cell, restoring the original resting potential, so the neuron is armed and ready to fire again. This bioelectric wave explains how a message travels within a single cell. But axons eventually end. To keep the message moving, the signal now has to cross open, empty physical space. Where one neuron ends and another begins, there is a tiny fluid-filled gap known as the synaptic cleft. To bridge this gap, the action potential forces synaptic vesicles to fuse with the terminal. They release neurotransmitters directly into the void. These chemicals drift across the cleft and lock perfectly into specific receptors on the postsynaptic cell, instantly sparking a new electrical potential. This sequence repeats, firing the message up the sensory afferent fibers from your fingertips, straight into the central command, your brain. Because this processing center is so vital, it sits locked inside the skull, wrapped in 3 protective layers of cranial meninges: the tough outer dura mater, the thin middle arachnoid, and the inner pia mater hugging the tissue itself. This sagittal section shows how the brain is organized into 3 major functional territories: the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. Each handles a specific range of processing tasks. In an emergency, the brain instantly processes the incoming sensory data from the hot cup and fires a command right back down the efferent fibers. The signal hits your somatic neural system, which controls your skeletal muscles, instructing your arm to yank back. From the dendrite catching the signal, to the massive influx of sodium generating an action potential, to neurotransmitters crossing the void, the brain demanding a muscular retreat, all of that happened in less than a second. This peripheral network operates across your entire anatomy, managing constant background data while those emergency reflexes are on standby. While your somatic system handles voluntary actions, like moving a muscle, a huge portion of your wiring is dedicated to things you never even think about. This is the autonomic neural system, operating entirely in the background through its sympathetic and parasympathetic branches. It smoothly regulates your involuntary vitals, from your resting heartbeat to the digestion of your lunch. Lower invertebrates, like a hydra, operate on a very basic, primitive web of neurons. They can detect their environment, but they lack the hardware for complex thought or coordinated high-level regulation. Evolution transformed that simple network into a biological mastermind. Every memory you hold, every step you take, and every beat of your heart relies entirely on this microscopic, high-speed dance of electricity and chemistry. If you want to keep exploring the machinery inside you, hit subscribe.